Hey, it's Troy from hittingitsolid.com here. Thanks for watching. In this video, I'm covering the golf backswing transition into the downswing. And without a doubt, I think this is one of the most difficult areas of the golf swing to master for all golfers, whether you're a high handicapper, even a low handicapper. This is the most challenging part, but if you can get it right, this is where you can see the most improvement in your game. So let's dive straight in. So we're talking about that transition period. So when we get to the top here, our backswing, and this is the transitioning into the downswing. Now, I want to make something really clear about this that's very much, I think, is confusing to a lot of golfers, maybe yourself as well, is that the backswing and the downswing, they're not separate movements. We talk a lot about, and we do videos obviously, on the backswing and on the downswing, but they're not separate movements. We never just do a backswing and stop and all of a sudden do a downswing. It's one flowing movement. And the real key for this to help you improve is understanding when you make your backswing is before it even finishes, before you even get to the top, that transition into the downswing, it's starting. It's starting to happen. If you see any of your favorite players in really slow motion, you'll see exactly that. Their downswing or their transition movement is happening before their backswing is even finished. And the real key for me is this right hip, and this is what triggers a lot of it. So I'll show you from face on first of all, and this is how I want you to really think about it and to understand how this transition works. So if we make a backswing, this right hip, and I'll show you from a couple of different angles just so you really can get a great visual. As you go to the top, just as you get to about this 3/4 position here, depending on how long your backswing is, this right hip of mine, it will be working towards my target. So as I go to the top, it will gradually start to work towards the target. And you can see there, right before I finish my backswing, that right hip has already moved. Look, it's different for all players, maybe a couple of inches towards the target side. And it kind of gives you a head start in your downswing, into that transition movement, and makes the downswing so much easier, not just with irons, but with driver as well. If you can get that right hip, obviously this is for a right-hander, as we go to the top, if you can get that right hip doing that little, it's just a little move, couple inch move towards the target, gives you hip depth and gives you that head start I just spoke about. So from down the line, as I'm slowly getting to the top, that right hip is doing this. It's doing that little move. It's only, say, a couple of inches towards the target. And that is the real key. Now the next stage of it is really what I call recentering or re-squaring of the hips. So if I make my backswing, if it's somewhere about there, you'll see here, my hips will be very, very closed, my chest will be very closed. Now, just after we do that little 2-inch move, a re-squaring of these hips happens. So this is what happens. You get to the top, do this little move towards the target, and then as you rotate, right about here, those hips will get square. From this angle here, you'll see we get those hips square. The legs will widen a little bit, slightly different for all golfers, but generally speaking, the hips will widen. And when that happens, we get more pressure into that lead side. Now, as a consequence, when you move that right hip, that little 2 inches towards the target, as soon as you then rotate to square, that left hip will automatically gain 2 inches as well. So you don't have to consciously think about a shift. You don't need to do any sort of movement like this, although some golfers can do that successfully, but you don't need to do this shift like that. You certainly don't need to do a hip bump like that and get into a really awkward position like that. But if you just do this little 2-inch move there, then re-square, this left hip will naturally move laterally towards the target a couple of inches, and you'll be right on top of the golf ball. With your irons, you'll be covering them, as they say. You'll be able to compress them. For your driver, this works as well because you'll be in a great spot. Due to the different ball it's set up and on a tee, you'll be more behind the ball and be able to really launch some better drives. So let's have a look from here. So really what's happening is that right hip is moving towards a target, and then when we're re-squaring, the left hip matches it. We're gaining that 2 inches and we're getting that nice little shift. So it's to here. Just before we get to the top, we're doing that little move. Then we're squaring, and then there. We're right into impact. Now the other key for this, what happens too, is my trail arm on my right arm. As I'm starting down, that trail arm will get longer. It won't actually stay bent like this that it is at the top. It'll get longer. That gets me more width. Now the key to this is ensuring your trail wrist has plenty of extension in it like that. We don't want to be casting it. We want to maintain that sort of cupping, that extended of that right wrist. And then we get through like that. So let's have a look from this angle. So as we go to the top, getting that 2-inch move, straightening that right arm, getting that width of those legs, and then we're really getting through an impact like this. I'll show you on towards the camera just to give you another visual. So as we go to the top, 2-inch move there, re-squaring, impact. And that is a great way to sequence the backswing through transition through to the downswing. Now a great way to practice this is just to do really short shots. Now before I show you one, doesn't matter what sort of backswing you've got, this applies exactly the same. You might have a backswing that's a little bit flatter, out like this, laid off, or you might have a backswing that's across the line up there. Either one of those, this sequencing, this transition into the downswing will work, but the key is that you have nice soft arms, soft wrists, because as you can see, if I get really shallow, as long as I've got soft arms and soft wrists, and I move my body correctly, I get that little shift of that right hip, then I re-center, the club will shallow out. With the across the line at the top, if you're someone that does this, as long as you've got soft arms up there, if you move your body correctly, someone like a Matt Wolf, that club will shallow out. As long as you get that mass behind you, if you get like here, as long as you do this correctly, re-center, that will naturally shallow out, get the mass behind you, and then you can get through to impact like that. So having those soft arms and wrists plays a really key role. All right, so let's hit a couple of shots and I'll show you how you can practice. So this is really important. So it's one thing to know what you need to do, but you need to know how to practice it as well. So let me go through a couple of shots with you. All right, let's practice hitting a couple of shots and I'll show you how to do this so you can build this into your game. By the way, if you think this video was beneficial for you and you got some value out of it, I'd really appreciate if you smash that like button. That really helps me out. And if you have any questions about this, something you're not sure about, please drop a comment down below. I will reply to every single one of you. All right, so what I want you to do is get over a ball, and the best way to practice this is just doing really slow, deliberate little swings, but continuous movement. So what I want you to do, just get away from the ball to start with. We're going to practice just going slowly to here, and before we finish our backswing, I want you to get that little shift, that 2 inches, recenter, and through. So we're not going to do really strong swings, maybe 50% of the effort, and that way we get a feel for how this movement goes. So I'll just hit a short one here. So I'm just going to do this nice and slow, and I'll pause sort of halfway through. So we're going to get our turn, little shift, and through. That is really that key, is to keep that little 2-inch shift going before your backswing is finished. Your left hip will naturally match up that 2 inches. Your legs may get a little bit of width in them, it's great if you can. And then from here you just rotate those hips open, and you are going to be in a fantastic position to strike that ball. This will work regardless of what handicap you're on. I'm confident if you can practice this and you're struggling in your downswing, this could be a real game changer for you to get your ball striking back on track. So I'm going to hit another little short one. Nice and easy. I'll do it slowly. Little shift and through. And that is how you get that transition from the backswing to the downswing. Again, if you have any questions, something about that you weren't sure about, please let me know. I've got a video coming up that talks about how you can make a short backswing and still gain plenty of power. So this ties in with this video, because you can still do this even if you have a short backswing and play some great golf. So I'll see you on that video. It's coming up.